All right. Call to order for the September Human Services Committee meeting. We have everyone here. All the committee members are here and both YIG students are here. Okay, so let's move on. Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? I have several. You can come up, have a seat in the chair. Tell us your name and your,
No, you're not.
yeah, and your address.
Refer to somebody else if you want.
Yeah, that's okay. And you have up to 5 minutes if you need it.
Okay. Name Raymond Cameron. I reside in the city of Kenosha in Kenosha County. The address 5313 20th Avenue. I'm here primarily to remind maybe some people if they hadn't heard about this topic like about 10, 11 years ago, you know, when there was the whole thing about doing the rail extension and the opposition against it by different people. So Sewer PAC, Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, says that, and has said for quite a while, that if they didn't come up with additional sources of revenue for public transportation, they also refer to it as public transit. Okay, this is for a 7-county area that there was going to be service cuts and, you know, make good like funding. I don't know the whole, you know, ramifications of it, but it since the entity has been in existence since 1960, I tend to give them quite a bit of validity in my mind, despite what certain parties that have, I don't know what their interests are, would say to the contrary. Recently, I used to also, up until June 7th, I served a couple of, well, part of one term, full term as a transit commissioner with the city. One of them, not just, you know, I'm not deep, so not to mislead anybody. So I kind of saw some things of how transit works here in this area. And, you know, whenever you talk about having more service, like say for paratransit, because I don't know how many of you are aware, but Kenosha Achievement Center had presented both the city and the county with letters saying they were going to be terminating service. So then I remember, as far as on the city side, he's also a county board supervisor, but he's also the city administrator. He had to, according to what he said, come up with some money out of money that was going to go to hire part-time drivers, okay, to be able to give them the money that they want in order to continue service up until December 31. So I said, as a member of the public, well, what happens after December 31 as far as paratransit service? Because I happen to qualify for that because of respiratory disability, you know, different times. So, and then we had the, you know, the disturbance, if you will, from my standpoint of, you know, how things were running, because now we've got 2 mobility managers where we only had 1 before to serve both the city and the county. And I thought that was a real good example of cooperation, you know, it makes us look better as the thing, especially when we have the casino that they've been trying to get, you know, and I know they talk about that being a big cash cow, but I think with the problems that are going to happen with people possibly getting addicted to gambling, et cetera, I'm not so confident that that's going to be what they think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of problems. And what else? So basically, I'm just kind of thinking it wouldn't hurt to have some extra money. And I've heard, like, from Chairman Anthony Kennedy of the Transit Commission, who's also an all-Everett city, that a half-cent sales tax, which is what I'm advocating for, would bring millions of dollars to transit. And when you got people who are going to be coming, you know, perhaps seniors or whatever from Illinois, it's like you can take, I guess, the Metro, and if you're disabled or you're a senior, you're a resident of Illinois, you can ride for free. Okay, which I never even know what that was like. And then also, from what I understand, Racine decided to vote to join Kenosha and Milwaukee to once again try to do this rail extension. So there's a lot of things going on, and I think with the way the cost of vehicular transportation, owning or whatever, you know, it's going to be important to anybody that can't afford a vehicle. So they tell people, like, oh, you're going to have a job order if you go to school, you know, to college, but then where are they supposed to get the money if it requires them to have a vehicle? Okay, so that was pretty much my reason and intent, is to advocate for this half-cent sales tax, because I think for transit countywide, because I think it would really benefit this whole county and city and the various municipalities or town entities. in this county. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Citizens' comments?
Hello, my name is Marita Huff, 7939 34th Avenue. I'm here to, wondering what the county, can do for the people that are sleeping outside. We found at least 60 people outside, at the point in time count, and these are not people that choose to be outside because they have agoraphobia or something. These are people that can't find a place to live. And the price of apartments is very high. I talked to a gentleman who had a landlord increase his rent by $300, and he now pays $1,150 for a one bedroom apartment. Not all that unusual. And it's bad now. If you get up early in the morning, it's cold and wet out the last week or so. And I have 3 people who look to be in their late 50s, early 60s, who are living on the picnic table behind our church for the last week. And the lady walks so poorly that she can't even get into our church to use the bathroom very often. So she just goes every other day or so. Can you imagine how little she drinks and how unhealthy that is? So at any rate, that's now, and it's winter's coming. And there's a lot of people that are going to be in misery. We usually have 20 people going into winter around here that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't know them all, but I see 20 most years. We've got 60 and more going into this winter. And if our dear president decides to help out Chicago by clearing out the homeless people, we're the end of the line for the train. And so I'm not saying that that's something to consider, but I certainly hope that doesn't happen. So we have a group called Supporters of Shelter. We're going to try to find options. Shalom Center's thinking about keeping the Hope Hub open, a few extra, having a little more lenient parameters for having the warming shelter open, but that still, they aren't planning on being open every day in the winter, no matter what. Right now they're only open 3 days a week because of cuts in federal funding. So I know that Mr. Jansen will probably keep you informed as to what's going on, but we really do need to be thinking about what can be done. There's a big amount of hurt coming down them very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Citizen comments? Nobody, anyone else? Nope. Okay, so citizen comments are closed. I don't have any comments in particular, though I talked to John Jansen. There you are, John, about dates coming up in October. This is the busy season. The budget is coming up here in the next month or so. And so our next scheduled meeting is tentatively October 7th, but we may not meet for that date. I'll let you know later, largely because we're going to meet on the 22nd. And that's the big budget meeting. So it's going to be more than just a committee meeting. It's a committee meeting, but we're going to be working on the budget and, and discussing it and passing it at committee. If there is a resolution or appointment of some sort, one thought is we could bring it up right before the October 22nd meeting, if that's all there is in terms of business. I don't think that I'm going to get much pushback on that if we don't have 2 meetings in October. I mean, in essence, we're going to have our 1 meeting, but it's just going to be on the 22nd. So, and then of course, as you know, then we have all the finance meetings. So we're going to be busy in October, as we always are. So that's all I wanted to say. Any board members or committee members have anything they want to say? Geek students, anything? First day of school, great time, huh? Okay, let's move on. Approval of the minutes, the August 5th minutes. Did you all get a chance to take a look at it? Does it look good? Do I have a motion to approve? Okay, a motion by Supervisor Kirby. And who do we have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Poole, a second. Dick students, how do you vote?
Yay.
Yay, okay. Committee?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The minutes are approved. All right. We have a resolution to modify the Division of Behavioral Health Services, the 2025 budget for a grant, state crisis intervention program grant. Yes. Okay, let me get to the resolution. Okay,
All
you
right,
have the floor.
well, thank you, Chairman Supervisors, Youth and Governance. Carrie Foss, I'm the Director of Behavioral Health Services. We took an opportunity to write for this grant. As you know, we've spoken, and in this year's budget, we have started the embedded social worker with the sheriff's office. That was not a novel idea to us. This is something that is happening in many, many counties across the state of Wisconsin. And actually, Chief Smetana is here this evening, actually brought this to my attention probably about 4 years ago, of really wanting to be able to do that for the village of Pleasant Prairie, to have an embedded social worker. So a lot of opportunity, throes of COVID, things get sidetracked. And here we are, this grant opportunity to do exactly that, bring in an embedded social worker into law enforcement. So we joined together with the village, wrote the grant. Our quality analyst for the division, Lauren Yanakopoulos, took the lead. And we found out about a week and a half ago that we were awarded the grant. So with the grant, there are a few main objectives that we're looking to accomplish. The first is to enhance suicide screening and identification methods by the Pleasant Prairie Police Department. We would be using the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale and Patient Health Questionnaire 9. These are general screens that are adopted and could be trained by the embedded social worker for law enforcement to utilize. Another objective that we would have is the embedded social worker will increase the community members' linkage to behavioral health services and resources. And also the embedded social worker will decrease risk of suicide deaths in the community. We would introduce another screening, the CALM screening, which is counseling on access to lethal means. We would also be able to have equipment such as medication lock boxes and gun safety locks, so that the embedded social worker, when you're with someone doing an assessment, suicide assessment, not only could we be using the screens that I had mentioned, but also leave behind for safety plans and encouraging families to lock up medication and lock up guns. So those would be the three main objectives. The grant is for 1 year, so we're going to be using that as a pilot, and hopefully that we would have great success.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Any questions on the particular resolution, any specifics? Yes, Supervisor
Thank you,
Rodriguez.
Mr. Chair, Karen, I'm not, I'm not in favor of this, obviously, yeah, I just want to get some clarification.
Absolutely.
So the county is paying for the embedded social worker through a $75,000 grant, so zero cost to county. That's going to go to Pleasant Prairie. Pleasant Prairie is putting in $34,794. Is that out of their budget or out of a grant as well?
That is out of our opioid.
Okay, so it's, okay, so, do we do this for Kenosha or Twin Lakes? Have we asked, has Kenosha or Twin Lakes also asked to do this? Because those are only three outside of, the sheriff's department, three.
So
police.
I certainly kept with, that's been a lot of conversation with Chief Patton and Chief Hall as well.
Mhm.
I think that they're the two ends of the spectrum, the sheer volume with the city
Mhm.
and the smaller volume with Twin Lakes. And so when we started this endeavor, it made most sense to start with the county,
Mhm.
just logistically, right, with the sheriff's office. And then the next kind of natural step seemed with the village, it was a manageable number. And I certainly can't speak for either municipality, but I know that they're very interested, especially now that it will be a county municipality arrangement with the village. And I think, Chief, their other chiefs are waiting to hear Chief Smetana's feedback on how well it is. But yes, there's been a lot of discussion and they're both incredibly interested in pursuing this.
And after the first year, is it still anticipated it'll be a county village? If this could, because right now the county is 2-1 on that.
I would, when you look at the other counties across the state, this is the way it's done, that the county does provide the embedded social worker or the embedded crisis worker into the municipalities. So this is largely how it's.
Do you know why they set it up that way?
Well,
Because there's some very large police organizations, Milwaukee,
and they have,
Madison,
and they connect
Green Bay.
with the county.
and they all go with the county.
They all go with the county. Yes, sir. The reality is that you can put a social worker in a lot of places. But the social worker is most effective if they're connected to the larger infrastructure. If they're able to have the clinical supervision to make sure that things are
And that's
being
not-
done appropriately and having electronic health records. So this isn't information that they would keep in their database system. This is going to be medical records, right? Which is going to be protected.
Right.
We would not want that to be kept, so it would be open records request. This is sensitive information and material. So we're just following the blueprint,
This
not
is
the rest of the
standard
state. So this is
operating
absolutely
Okay.
standard relationships across the state.
Very good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other, yes, Supervisor Kirby.
So assuming that this is successful, what would the plan be to fund it on a go forward basis?
There's a lot of opportunities. I know that the village is interested in supporting it financially moving forward. There's opportunities to take a look at what type of Medicaid revenue that these positions could generate. So I think that there's a lot of options for us to explore the sustainability. This is something that is clearly identified in Exhibit E of allowable expenses for the opioid settlement funds as co-response with law enforcement.
Thank you.
I think this is a great idea. And I concur with Supervisor Kirby. The only hiccup I see is financial sustainability, but it doesn't seem that expensive. I mean, it's not crazy.
It doesn't, and I know that Chief Smetana had a great connection with Chief Mitchell of what Department of West Dallas, who we visited about 4 years ago. West Dallas is a community municipality that has an arrangement and a relationship with Milwaukee County to provide this. So there's we don't have to figure this out on our own. We can talk with a lot of our partners across the state on how are they able to invest, that there's municipalities that are willing to invest. We really need to be able to start this to figure out what is the cost savings. How often are we saving time for the municipality? What type of services can we offer? And then the immeasurables, right? Quality of life and access to care for residents. So there's a lot of information that we need to collect over the next year to find out, does this make sense financially for both the county and the village?
Supervisor Nordigian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do we have a list of KPIs that we're going to evaluate afterwards? Keep one second. What you just said, or are there other ones that, let's say, hey, this is what we had? This
Yep.
is- And I understand everyone wants to look at dollars and cents, but I'm looking at lives. Do we see more lives that are benefiting? I think.
So when
Right away looking.
the grant was written, under the DHS grant, you have to identify all your SMART goals, right? So the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So we're going to continue to follow that.
Okay.
If you have any specific questions, we've started talking about how we're going to collect data, how we're going to measure the data.
Yeah.
What does the baseline
Okay.
look like
That's
already?
Yeah, baseline, and then in the year, we look at it and maybe make adjustments or make some, updates or some
We
improvements.
absolutely have to. I mean, that's the
Right.
point of collecting
Right.
baseline data and then measuring is, are we adapting, adopting,
Just
or
measure,
abandoning?
just improve, so, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments? Do I have a motion? Okay, that's a first. Okay, first by Supervisor Brown, a second by Supervisor Robinson. Big students, how do you vote?
Yay.
Committee? Aye. Okay, resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Okay, Veteran Services update.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Blasey. I am the County Veteran Service Officer, the Director of Veteran Services for Kenosha County. We are the smallest division in the county. Currently, we have a staff of 5. We have 1 vacancy posted. So I brought 3 of my staff members. I'd like to introduce Rob. Rob Swanson, he's the Assistant County Veteran Service Officer, the Assistant Director. Danielle White. And then we have Timothy Buckley.
Okay.
So, as you know, for the most part, one of our main duties is to help people apply for benefit. The largest being disability compensation, and then we also have the pension benefit. But we also do many other services within the county, and we have a lot of agency partnerships. We work to reach out to establish relationships with a lot of other agencies so that they are aware of our services. For instance, for aging, obviously when we move to the new building, we will be right next to the Department of Aging because we work hand in hand with a lot of benefits. Danielle is a member of the Caregiver Coalition. And one of her tasks is currently, we're doing a lot of outreach, we're trying to set up a direct referral system with all the nursing homes, assisted livings, and in-home care providers, so that they know our services, what our services are, and that they refer people to us. So we usually, I'm gonna pause for a moment and catch my breath. We've reached out to a lot of the care facilities in the past and given them our brochures. It's not really doing what we want it to do because people do not follow up. You give people a brochure and they don't pursue it. So what we're trying to really do is set up a referral system where the facility gets somebody who's interested. They screen, as part of their screening process, they ask them if they're a veteran. They send us an email and we actually call the people to discuss the benefits. Because people have, it's once we call you and say, well, you qualify for a benefit that may pay you about $25,000 a year for the cost of your care. Now you're interested. Whereas before it was kind of something that was, you don't know what it is, but you think that you don't probably qualify. A lot of people don't think that they qualify or that they're deserving. And that's not a matter of that at all. So we want to make sure that they know that. So we're trying to really set up that referral system. And Danielle is going to caregiver events, breakfast, things like that to establish that relationship so that we have a solid foundation. And it's important that we keep that particular role up because a lot of the facilities have a lot of changeover in staff management. So somebody might know it and 6 months later, they don't know who you are because the staff is turned over. So that's a big impetus that we're doing with the care facilities. A lot of this is when people get out of service, for the most part, they pursue their education benefits and they go on with the rest of their life. Some file disability claims from the get-go. Some don't. They just go on with their benefit. They go on with their life. So what we're trying to do is reach out to anybody at those points in times where they might be interested or they need those benefits. So sometimes it's the window of opportunity when people really want to pursue those benefits. So with the nursing homes and the assisted livings, that's a point in time where you need those services. When people don't have medical care when they've lost their jobs, we help them to apply for VA health care. We also have relationships with the Brave program, which is for a program for veterans and first responders with traumatic brain injuries. The John D. Mason. For the medical examiner, when veterans pass away, sometimes we reach out to see what the cause of death is, that sort of thing. If we can assist the family in applying for benefits. As you can see, when we talk about the homeless individuals, we have a lot of outreach for homeless individuals. We are members of the Emergency Services Network and the VA Case Coalition. On the VA Case Coalition, we talk with a lot of the service providers and we speak about specific veterans, what their situation is, how we can best assist them to move forward. So we do that as a team. And as far as education, that's another touch point. We have, contacts with all the colleges and technical colleges within Kenosha County. We go to their events. We're part of the Multicultural Alliance. They've had, a lot of gaming events at some of the service organizations recently. We've had one at, the VFW last month. Herzing earlier in the year. So we're trying to reach a lot of younger veterans with those events. We also have Veterans Treatment Court, which is run with, it's run in conjunction with Racine. And Tim is our representative on Veterans Treatment Court. So we do a lot of teamwork within that organization, within the Veterans Treatment Court. We also do a lot of work with the veteran service organizations and the funeral homes and cemeteries. When people pass away, we send a letter out to notify their families that they might be entitled to benefits. And sometimes we call them to make sure if we see somebody's like a Vietnam veteran, or we see that you served in certain locations, we follow up to make sure that there's a surviving spouse, that she knows that she might have benefits. So it's not just a letter. Sometimes we call them and say, okay, you really need to apply for benefits. So those are a lot of our agency partnerships. And again, this is kind of like, I guess I want to say additional, I want to say it's not the main duties that we perform. The main duties that we perform are actually helping people apply for disability compensation for service-connected injuries. And as you can see, for the economic impact for Kenosha County now, the 2024 numbers have not been released. So, over $123 million was received by Kenosha County veterans. 62 million in compensation and pension, and another 58 million in healthcare, with the smaller parts being education and insurance. For Wisconsin GI Bill. So every veteran who enters service from the state of Wisconsin has a separate entitlement for Wisconsin GI Bill, which waives tuition at the UW schools for up to 128 credits. Okay, if you have a veteran that is a 30% service-connected disability and you entered service from the state of Wisconsin, or you lived here for 5 years, your dependents also get Wisconsin GI Bill, their own separate entitlements. So, in the Parkside goes by the fiscal year. So Parkside waived $1.29 million in tuition. And Gateway waived $366,000. So in addition, we have the Wisconsin's Veterans and Surviving Spouse Property Tax Credit. That is for veterans who are compensated at the 100% rate, or their spouses who receive DIC, which is for service-connected death. So they are eligible to have their property taxes refunded back to them. There's a limitation on the size of the land and things like that, but so that was $2 million that was returned back to Kenosha County residents in the property tax credit for 2024 tax season. So currently, our active outreach, as far as our goal, is what we're working on. The state has a database that has all the recently discharged veterans. For a long time, we were not able to access that database. The state has made it available to us that we can now locate the recently discharged veterans and send them a letter. We send a letter regarding what our services are with a copy of our brochure. Veterans used to be told to bring your DD-214 to the office when they were discharged. That's no longer the case anymore. It's not like you're getting, your DD-214 it's being sent to you electronically. It used to be you had it on a one, like an onion skin piece of paper. Now it's so people don't necessarily feel the need to come to the office anymore, or they're not told. So we're actively sending out letters if they're, to please come to the office, bring your DD-214 and to discuss any benefits. As I said, we're trying to build and establish a relationship for the referral system with the care facilities. And we've also done a lot of outreach to the sheriff's department, Kenosha County Sheriff's Department. We've done presentations this year regarding benefits. Sheriff Zorner said about 40% of the sheriff's staff are military veterans. So, some of the presentations were well attended, but as you can imagine, trying to get people on a rotating shift, it's kind of hard to do those presentations and trying to know when roll call is. That part didn't work out. It worked out for the staff who are in the office. That went well. So right now we're trying to do, I guess I want to say a survey within the sheriff's department of who would like to have a discussion, a one-on-one regarding what their benefits are and how we could assist them applying for benefits. So we're starting out with the sheriff's department. We're just concentrating on a lot of the, I guess I would say, the professions where a lot of military people tend to go into after, tend to flock after service. And a lot of that is the police, not so much the fire department, but the police, we've discovered. So that is our outreach. Those are our outreach goals for this year. And in addition, we have three large events. We have the Veterans Picnic at Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park. That's the first Friday after Memorial Day. And September 19th, we have our Boundless Adventures event that attracts a lot of younger veterans and their families. That's a family-friendly event. And then we also have our Veterans Celebration. It's a celebration of resource fair with breakfast, and that's the Saturday before Veterans Day. So that's kind of an overview of the services. I don't know if anybody has any questions. As I said, the majority of what we do is helping people apply for disability compensation. But these are some of the additional things that we do that may not have come to your attention.
Supervisor Nordine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just have some questions about being more proactive, as it looks like in your outreach letters of the, coming out of the service is a really good idea. I don't know if you've measured its effectiveness.
We haven't had much time to do
to do
that.
that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, as compared to, do we know, I don't want to say, do we know every veteran that's in this county now?
No.
Okay. How would we go about doing that?
That would be. That.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
That's about 9,000 people. People
Yeah,
come,
right.
they move to your area.
Right. No, exactly.
yeah.
That's exactly, I guess what I'm getting at is we never know everyone, but how would they, because at that point, we're in a react and not a proact mode, which I think we react very well. Sounds like somebody comes to us and we know where to put them and get things going. I think that's something we do very well. So where do we have that little gap, between those that are
Well,
newly coming out
so-
and understanding the process? So here's Supervisor Poole, lives out in Paddock Lake. Maybe moved in here, Vietnam veteran, Marine, and moved to the counties, never needed anything or is asked about it or has been. How do we find that person?
we do outreach at community events. We've done, some of like the housing developments, like the senior complexes, Saxony Manor. When we're invited to things, we do the best that we can.
I'm not going to say, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
find how we can, maybe open up our minds and look to, we have a couple of young ladies here.
Yeah.
We have, well, hey, what about this? We're old, we know our ways, but again, I think those are the areas that we might be able to find some more success in.
Well, we're trying to reach, one of the things that we've discussed is trying to reach out to some of the larger employers.
Okay,
So, Amazon, okay, maybe Uline, some of the larger employers to see if they're interested in veterans benefits. Because at a certain point, okay, we're at the universities, that's for younger veterans, but some veterans just go find a job. So I think the next goal is probably employers.
Supervisor Robinson and then Supervisor Poole.
Thank you. One of the things that came to my mind, I know from personal experience that, my church, the church is where a significant group of people go for help when they need help. And I know that at my church, we have sent people to you, because we know that they're veterans. And so, one of the things that I would strongly suggest is sending out information to the various churches, the various parishes, the various synagogue, temple, whatever, because there are within almost every denomination, there are helping organizations within that system. And so if you can get those people to be aware, then they can say, these people have had jobs, done whatever, and all of a sudden we're seeing that there is some need for an assisted living or this or that. But they may be trying to stay at home because they don't know that they're eligible. And so at that point that they can step in and do something. So I would suggest letting the churches know.
We did do a presentation, there was an interfaith resource fair last year in Parkside. I think that was the first one. It did not occur this year. It was pretty well attended, but.
Yeah, I mean, even if you've got letters or whatever, I know that I have taken folders from Aging and Disability and I have taken them to my church. And those have been passed out and I keep getting contacted, please get me more folders. And so then I call Aging and I take them back to the church and, if you have information like that, I think that, sending out something to various churches might be a good plan.
Well, that's true, yeah. So, for the most part, we do try to reach out to a lot of agencies that, and we didn't really think about the churches other than the interfaith resource. At times when they're in need, and we do try to make all the emergency service providers know to refer them to us so that they've been made aware that veterans have resources that the general public does not. And to please save your dollars and refer them to us so that you can use VA dollars.
Right.
And say,
So the sharing centers, home center and all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Supervisor Poole.
And as you said, sharing center, I was gonna say, out in our area, the sharing center is where I found out about them, so.
So, did anybody have any other, because Rob's just gonna do a brief overview, Rob is gonna do an overview of the dashboard. Did anybody else have any other specific questions?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Rob, the assistant in the office. This is Loki. Downey. All right, so you guys got the dashboard. So, some things you may notice, one of the bigger things is that you may notice that our phone calls were down a lot this year compared to the years past. I would probably guess the main reason why is we did a lot more outreach this year than we have in the past. So if you see our outreach numbers, we hit 1,000 people in outreach. You've also noticed on the dashboard that every category is surpassing last year's categories besides phone calls. So maybe the phone calls didn't need to be made as much this year because the information is getting out there. We're maybe a little reactive, but there are a lot of proactive areas as well that we're reaching out to. So, and then some of these categories, for instance, like the new client and the returning clients, we weren't measuring those last year, so we just started measuring those this year. Any questions on the dashboard?
Just
Go ahead.
just a quick, so it looks like people served, those are individual people, 1,023, is that what we were looking at?
Yes.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
At 16 different events.
Yeah.
And Jennifer mentioned a few of those events with being the nursing homes and such, and then they're going to the different colleges and such.
Okay.
Supervisor Poole.
As some of the members of the community, spoke about, do we go out and talk to the homeless to see if they're veterans and we can help them?
Jennifer's been at the Clayton the point
Point in time.
times.
I knew in the past they did. I just-
Yep. Yeah, did we find any this last year?
No, we know about this probably.
Our outreach to that community is pretty intensive in the sites, like the care center knows, the crisis center knows. So essentially, they're finding us before that time, and we're getting them a place with benefits as soon as we can. So, one of the steps we do for that is we as the county puts up with they have, the commission. The commission has a little bit of money for veterans every year. We'll put them up in a hotel for a few days, and then we get the services in place for them with SFBF, there's a couple different providers for that. And then, they also work with North Chicago, with Great Lakes with the homeless welcome center down there, so to do some further benefits as like HUD Dash and such, which is a housing, they pay for rent, they help with rental assistance, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Good. Well, okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes,
You were
I
like.
knew there was nothing left. Just wanted to make sure
Doubt
I'm
yourself.
not
Yeah.
forgetting anything.
Right.
All right, okay, do we have oh, yes.
No, we have that piece of paper to sign.
Oh, the
Oh,
resolution, yes. So don't leave without it. I will sign it and send it around.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. We have a First by Supervisor Brown, a second by Supervisor Nordigian. Youth and Governance, do you want to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned.